Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions.
Supposedly.
Well, maybe. Life is a fight.
It is.
In business, every day is a fight.
So true.
So, hey, what's your problem?
Yes! Thank you, John David Wells. The big voice guy. I actually talked to him today. He may be in Nashville sometime soon, and if he is, we're going to have him on the show so you can get to know him and the Wells Report and all that he does. Very cool guy. He's the big voice guy for the show. The What's Your Problem podcast is a show for Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals where we talk about the one thing keeping them up, the one problem. There's always something. And as soon as we realize it's always something, it gets better. The weight gets lifted off your shoulder. You just accept it. It's life. This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com. If you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review. I've been told to tell you, don't give me 3s or 4s or 1s. I want all 5 stars. If you can't give me a 5-star, let me know how I can make it a 5-star. Just don't review it yet. I am your host, Jim McCarthy with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com, and today another special guest coming all the way down from Nashville to this border town that we live in as Thompson Station. Ms. Angela Proffitt, welcome to the show once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here again.
It honors me because you are a very busy person, always globe trotting.
Yeah.
And you're making time and coming down to spend some of it with me.
Well, that's because we love you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you on. You are just a whirlwind of energy as always. And one of the biggest entrepreneurs in Nashville that deserves a lot more credit and attention, in my opinion. So before we get started, we always do something that's sponsored by my company, it'syourshow.co, the Random 5. If you want a podcast like this, it'syourshow.co can help you out. Podcasts exist, they're marketing machines, and they're incredible for getting really quick, concise social media content out there in the form of clips. I mean, you can do pictures, you can do all sorts of stuff. So if you've ever wanted a podcast, we can get involved as little or as much as you like. From just producing an intro on up to, being there when you record the episodes and taking the notes and cranking them out for you. It'syourshow.co. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Ready.
Ready. Question number 1, what's expensive but totally worth it?
What is expensive but totally worth it is hiring a tour guide when you are in a foreign country.
Amen. You know that by personal experience. My gosh, if you follow Angela's TikTok, it's very fun. A lot of dancing, a lot of exotic locales.
Yep.
And somehow you get people to dance with you.
I do.
You got to do a behind the scenes of that.
We have to do a TikTok today.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Question number 2. What was the best thing that happened to you today?
The best thing that happened to me today is, really just waking up and putting both feet on the floor.
Beautiful.
And being able to stand up. Seriously.
Isn't that the truth?
It is.
I'm getting to the point in my life where and this is going to be really morbid, the amount of deaths are increasing around my life. You know what I mean?
And that's why I said what I said.
We're up to 10 this year.
I'm
people
so
that we know. It happens. It's, found out about one today.
Life is short.
It really is. A whisper or a vapor is what they say. Question number 3, what languages do you wish you could speak?
I really wish I could speak Spanish.
Really?
Yeah, just basic. I do a lot of work in Mexico.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, you can actually do the Rosetta Stone and just listen to it and probably just, absorb it like a sponge, but,
Well, there's an app for it, so why take the brain space when I can just use an app?
Just do the app.
Yeah.
My kids are really into speaking Spanish. They're learning it and they're absorbing it like sponges.
It's amazing.
That's crazy. Question number 4, what's the most pleasant sounding accent? These are really right up your random questionality. I mean, crazy.
Pleasant sounding accent. Like I was just in London and I love the accent. I was there when the Queen passed away, unfortunately. Really? And so I was around a lot of people in events and they want me to keep talking because, I'm like this Southern girl, but I want them to keep talking. I love the way they sound.
You've got the perfect subtle hint of twang in your linguistics. Question number 5 and the final question. What's something that everyone, absolutely everyone in the entire world can agree on?
Does that even exist? That we need to brush our teeth.
Yes. That is the perfect answer. Yeah. Because it's like you feel like you've left your arm at home if you forgot to brush your teeth. Mm-hmm. You get that sandpaper grit across the surface of them, At least I do. Well, there you go. The Random 5 brought to you by it'syourshow.co. Check them out. Link is in the description. Angela, let's get into it. So it's been a while since you've been here.
Yeah.
And the last time we spoke, you were talking about a lot of things with the GSD Academy. Has anything changed with that at all in recent months?
Well, we're still very much GSD, which stands for Get Shit Done.
Right.
And I love helping people figure out how they want to really, not only their business, but their life, like grid it out and calendar block it out. It doesn't sound sexy or fun, but if we don't know our capacity, how are you going to commit to things and show up 100%. And so while GSD Academy was great, there's a time and a place for everything. That was, I think that was prior to COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now we're on to something, it served its purpose and that's still the groundwork. But what we learned in doing that, which it was an online course, is that people need motivation and people need something different before they focus on GSD. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't like what you're doing and if you're not happy, and I'm talking like 80-20, we all do stuff we don't want to do sometimes, but if you're not operating as your best self, why the hell would you want a GSD?
Right.
So I had to take it a step further and really talk about how to GSD and doing shit you love and adding that little blurb on just from audiences telling me, like, actually I had a guy tell me, he's like, you get on my nerves. You are really annoying. He's like, your content comes up, but you're so happy. And, sometimes people are like, are you fake? I'm like, no, I'm just very intentional about making the right decisions. And a lot of that comes with personal development. But now we're onto something a little bit, in my mind, bigger and better, where we've actually taken a huge step back to try to help people understand before they're going to GSD and before they want to be more productive, is just make sure that you're doing stuff that you really enjoy doing.
Right. Yeah. And it's if you find that in life, it's a blessing. Because I think I've been doing that for a majority of my adult life. I got into radio. I really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't sustainable financially.
But you do other things.
I do.
Like
I do.
The podcasting and the voiceovers, but you're amazing at it and you love it. But unfortunately, as I literally travel around the world and meet people all over the world, like I did a study with just my Uber drivers in all these different countries. And I'm like, are you happy? Do you love Uber? Do you love driving for Uber? And a lot of people, they do other things. And if you just ask a question, people will tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked at the amount of people that tell me, nah, it's just a job. I'm like, so you're not happy? You don't, what? I'm like, well, do you like whatever city, whatever country I'm in? It's okay. Well, do you stay here because you have a family? Like, why do you stay here?
Right.
And the amount of people that just say, oh, I grew up here. I'm from here. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm not in school. It's almost like they need to find their purpose. And so, I push people to think a little bit deeper sometimes. And a lot of times I'm by myself, but then there's people in the car with me. They're like, Angela, they didn't sign up for a ride today, of like people pushing them and asking them a bunch of questions. But I've actually had several drivers say, like, this was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me think harder because we're so busy and there's so much noise that we don't sit down and think about it. Like, am I really happy? And if I'm not, what the hell am I going to do about it,
Yeah, I mean, I've been having this conversation with my kids as of late. I have a junior, and I've asked her, what do you want to do? I mean, it's kind of getting to be go time. Are we doing college? What do you, I said, and again, we have never pressured her to go to college. I said, you know me, I would rather you find out who you are, be self-aware, and everything will just fall into place. Trust me, you'll find a way. I'll teach you to have that tenacity and how to have appreciation. It's going to take years. It could take you entirety of your 20s to find that. That's okay. You need to hear that.
You're such a good dad.
But that was my story, you know? And I know so many people that did it the other way, that were trained to think that, it's you got to get the job. You got to go to college. You got to do this. You got to do. No, you're not finding out who you are.
Right.
You got to find out who you are. That's going to feed your soul. And then when, you're going to have a major shift when you turn 40. That's what happened to me. It's seasons of life. Every
10 years, I get bored. And every 10 years, like the closer I get, and I don't sit around thinking about it, but I mean, you brought it up earlier and like morbidly, okay, my first healthcare job, I worked in a morgue.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was with dead people, but I learned a lot. I was really good at anatomy.
You're around death a lot. My wife was the same way. She was in hospice.
Yeah.
She was a hospice home health aide.
Yeah.
She helped people die for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it takes sometimes losing people around you to realize like, shit, have I done the things that I want to do? Like, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? And am I happy?
Yeah.
And that's where you start to reevaluate all those things and saying yes to the right things and no to the things that aren't serving you right now that are serving your goals.
Well, a lot of that comes from previous generations. I worked in a nursing home, one of my first jobs ever. I was a dietary aide, worked in the kitchen, and every night we served, the elderly their dinner. And in one dining room, it was the elderly that can move around, they could still feed themselves. In the other room, it was really, they were just waiting for death, and I always remember that, that generation, you had to do everything that was pressed upon us. That's why they pressed it upon us. We have the audacity in this age to really explore who we are, and we got to impress that onto the generation coming up, not that everybody's got to be feeling like they're special and all this other stuff. No, you still got to have the hustle mentality. It's still going to take work, but it's there to discover, I just had this conversation the other day, a guy, here locally, he's got a really good opportunity to sell his business and pocket some decent amount of change where he can retire. And I told him, I said, dude, the biggest important, he's like, I just want to retire. I said, what does that mean?
Right.
What is retirement? Does it mean going golfing? Whatever. He goes, I don't know. I said, that's the problem.
Got to figure it out first.
You got to figure out what's your purpose.
Yep.
What is your purpose? What do you want to do?
Yep.
I said, because people who retire, it's like they sign their own death warrant, right?
Yeah. And they get like,
I remember a really morbid show for credit.
My dad retired and my sister had a new baby at the time. And so, he enjoyed being a grandparent. And then when she went to kindergarten, he's like, I'm bored. And, so he went back and, I could tell the job was more fun. I mean, it was still like insecurity and doing like undercover things, but it wasn't so much, he was a much bigger teddy bear than like the 30 years that he was really working hard. But then I'm like, why does it have to be that way?
Yeah.
Like we can be happy and have fun. There's going to be stressful shit. Like you said, that's just life, but it's how you react.
Yeah.
And what do you learn from it so it doesn't happen again, hopefully.
Right. And that's, so you're coming across that. It's not just an epidemic here in the States. It's all over the world. People just.
All over the world.
They don't know who they are. I mean, honestly, my brother, he's kind of not an identity crisis. He's been an attorney for the past 25 years. And I think that's kind of maybe run its course. He still enjoys it, but it's reinventing yourself. It's shifting. It's, finding that spark again, and I told him, I said, dude, get out of Michigan, come down to Nashville, combine your two loves of music and law. You'd freaking crush it down here.
Oh,
being an agent,
growing so quick.
I said, how many artists are out there have no idea the stuff they're signing, right? I said,
no clue.
It's somebody in their corner that understands music to the extent that you do.
Yeah. Even for their weddings, like their management companies are the ones like signing things and doing things because.
Really?
Well, again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so even on the personal side, these people that are in the public eye, they need people there to look over things and make sure that they're making the right decisions and they're signing the right things.
And it's, you're kind of you and I are very similar in that sense, because when I met you years ago in radio, we were doing spots for Chef's Market. Which
I still love.
If you want to spend, the amount of money it's going to take to get a Thanksgiving dinner that is just out of this world.
Oh, it's amazing.
We used to get that every year at the radio station.
It's amazing.
Oh my gosh. So you came in, that's how you and I met.
Yep.
And you were doing a lot of event planning at that point. Mm-hmm. But now it's so, because of your need to organize your life, you've come up with a system and teach people. I remember on Rich's show, you were teaching us how to, you said something that stays with me. And I feel guilty about it because I still haven't implemented it. Measure the time you spend doing things. I'm like, I don't want to, because it's not going to be good.
It's not fun, but so I know the outcome of it, right? Yeah. So the outcome is freedom, is feeling free. Yeah. And what every entrepreneur wants, if you really start, I got a mentor that calls it peel back the onion.
Yeah.
If you really start to peel back the onion and the layers of why are you doing this? Why are you saying yes to this? Why? If you just keep asking yourself why, and you get to the root of the kind of issue sometimes, it usually comes down to time management, overcommitting, and capacity. Mm-hmm. And then people end up so tired, so overworked, all those things. But if you take a step back and you put your to-do list on your calendar and you create time and space, and I'm all about color coding, not because I'm a kindergartner and I love colors and all that, but it helps from week to week when you color code your personal things, your work meetings. Like today is in red because I had to show up for this. I couldn't send any of my team members. You were expecting me.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that go on in business day to day that I don't have to be there for as long as I can train and teach someone else. So having a color of, for me, everything red is I have to show up. My face has to be there. Yeah. Everything in blue is things that I need to do. It's like my to-do list.
Right.
Everything in orange are personal things that I need to go do. And then our green is revenue generating things that are being done for clients, but I don't necessarily have to do it.
Right.
And then, so color coding and then we have yellow for marketing. There's all these different things, and you can check off the calendar. And I'm big on using a calendar that is backed up in the cloud. People who are first starting to really understand their buckets and understand, okay, every year we have personal obligations, holidays and birthdays. They come every year. Put them on your calendar. Talk to your family. Set goals if you want to go on a trip. Talk about those things. Put them on the calendar. And that can be a color. But when you look week to week, if I have a lot of red and hardly any blue or orange, I have a very unbalanced week.
Oh, wow.
And there's going to be weeks like that.
Yeah.
Like when we have huge events happening and going on, we have a lot of red. However, what I've learned from that is we block the whole week. We take nothing else. No podcasts, no phone calls, no other projects. It's that dedicated to that client. And then you don't overextend yourself.
Right.
So the minute somebody hires us to do something, we go out, and some of these things are a year out. We go on and say, okay, there's 4 GSD days that we need to spend together. And that's where the process comes into place. But it helps build up your calendar, your capacity. And as a business owner, the most important thing, because my team does it too now. I mean, that's how we pay people.
You're immersed in that.
Yeah. You know when you need another person, and when people are at capacity. That's why people leave jobs. And that's why turnover is so bad right now, is because people are not setting boundaries, and they're not setting boundaries to see people as people first. And they have all these expectations of getting all this stuff done, but there's no support in making sure there's only so many hours in the day. That's something else universally. We all have 24 hours in a day, 365 days a year, no matter what language you speak or where you live in the world. Yeah. It's universal. And how can you best use those hours? And if you don't know week to week, then how are you going to plan ahead, and how are you actually going to be happy?
Right.
So it really is about work-life balance, but a lot of people don't know how to get there. So that's the simplest form. You can put paper all over the walls and do it with markers too, which is how I tell people to first start. And it's okay to have a paper calendar and write it down. Right. Just take a picture, make sure it's in the cloud. So if you lose your planner or something is stolen, or heaven forbid your house or office burned down, and I say that because I had patients that I worked with in the mental hospital, these things happen to them.
Right.
And that's how I learned someone else's pain, that I never wanted to feel that. And then right before college graduation, my computer crashed. I lost everything. I didn't almost graduate.
It's like
on
having
time.
a fire.
It is. And so that's where I became like this tech geek of understanding how the cloud, which gosh, that was over 20 years ago, was so powerful. But I also had to take a step back and realize, because I used to push so hard, you know me, like in the cloud, no paper. But I've had to take a step back. And the pandemic helped me realize that I need to have more empathy. I need to understand people's brains are wired differently. I freaking teach that shit.
Yeah.
And people need to put pen to paper to write it down. And they need to see it. I'm very visual. I need to see it too. However, I don't sit in an office every day. I'm literally in different countries on different days. For me, my computer, I'm in front of my computer a lot, or my phone, so I can see it laid out in a week's way to where, okay, I know at capacity, I can't do any more that week. I mean, gosh, when you texted me, I don't know, I feel like it was a month or two ago.
Yeah, about that.
You know, I knew that I was like, absolutely, I want to come back. But I know it's going to be this long because I can look out at my calendar and know the capacity.
Right. And is that something you work on every day? Do you plan your day ahead of time, like day before, or?
Well, so every Sunday, you know, I sit down and I look, and I have an assistant, a right hand, who pretty much manages my life.
Right.
She manages, you know, all the business part of it. And then, you know, my family stuff and my personal stuff. I'm like, okay, what do I have to do this week? But a lot of my stuff is already on there.
Yeah.
I take a week every December and sit down and set up the calendar. And I'm really intentional. But that's because someone taught me years ago how to do that, because I was running ragged. We were doing over 250 events a year. And that's a lot of events.
But isn't it a luxury to get to that level where, not a luxury, I mean, it takes work to get there. You're still going to work no matter when you get to that level. In the beginning of any business, it is kind of just a crapshoot. You got to say yes to a lot of things.
You do.
You have to have a flexible schedule, right?
You do.
And that's kind of what, you know, we've been going through for the past several years. And, you know, as we're building a podcasting business, a lighting business, it's a lot of, okay, we got, you know, different priorities that are constantly moving, and we're trying to get, you know, keep oxygen in the tank. That's the objective.
And that's how we pre-qualify people. Like, are you really ready?
Right.
Like people who want to come in and
So
come
we're
to
not ready for
workshop.
that.
Well, and there's a time and a place for everything, but it's like usually the people that are gonna hear it and walk away, like you said, you haven't implemented it yet, right? The reason why is because you haven't felt the pain yet of really understanding, why do I need to sit down and do this? So when I really adopted it, I was probably going to stroke out,
Right.
because I wasn't sleeping hardly. I would stay up for 3 days straight and just work, and then it was just bad. We're humans. We're not robots. We have to sleep.
Yeah.
But when so the business owners that have been in business at least 5 years, they either quit or they know they have to make a change, and they know that they have to do something different. Now, that's kind of what it was before COVID. Things are a little bit different now. There's some startups that we work with who are in their first year of business, and because they're already hiring people, they need to understand capacity.
Yeah.
And if they're like running like a hamster with a wheel, you know, on the wheel, then they're going to trickle down to their team, and then their team's going to run like that. And then everybody's life starts to get like that. And then things are messy, and then people leave the company. I mean, it's a horrible cycle.
Yeah.
So, you know, I tell new business owners, like, get it right first, set it up, set the company culture up first. But unfortunately, in real life, you got to feel the pain before you're going to do something different.
Right. And that's kind of, you know, we approach it as what we try to be cultural oriented as well, but it's conveying the message to our employees, our staff, that, hey, this is a work in progress. Okay. But understand that culture, good culture creation, cultivation is going to be at the forefront of our minds. You know, that comes from us. And there's no other way to do it. But I mean, again, if you have a blind leading the blind kind of scenario, it's tough. I mean, I'm getting to the point of mass, you know, I'm at my extent. So,
Yeah.
you know, and signing up for the course, GSD Academy, it runs you through the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it would run people. Yeah. It would run people through the whole thing. And GSD Academy online, it was great prior to COVID.
Yeah.
And then with COVID, people quit investing so much in self-development, their teams. You know, things just quit selling. The revenue quit coming in. But softwares, things that people didn't have to survive just dropped off. I mean, we were all trying to figure out how are we going to survive and what is extra that we don't, and online courses at the time for me weren't that great.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, okay, what do people need and what are people asking for? And so the whole pandemic really opened eyes to a lot of people of, okay, we need to be more empathetic. We need to create personal development. We need to create self-help tools. We need to help people who are helping us build our business and do day-to-day work. How can we cultivate them, see them as people first, make sure that they have the tools they need to develop, and then we're one big happy family. I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, but we've really pivoted away for so like pushing so much GSD, and backed up a little bit. And it's like wellness and your health. If you're not healthy, you can't. It's
not worth it.
No.
Yeah.
No. And so many people, I see them, I mean, myself included, for a good 10 years where I was just, bank accounts look good and to the outside world, it looks good. But on the inside, it's like, there's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
And that's why suicides, the rates have gone through the roof. And because people don't have the tools and the outlets they need.
Right.
And so just with my background in psychology and working in mental health and then all the stuff over the years of learning, take it back to the simple, basic shit is get yourself right first, and then it trickles to your team, and then it trickles to your clients. So now we're focused more on, I'm still GSD. I will always be GSD. But again, doing the things that you love. And if you don't know what makes you happy and you just lose yourself in your business, why are you doing, like when I came in, there's this really cool car. I'm like, ooh, and I love like pink and polka dots.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm like a kid. I'm like, but that's the thing that adults and business owners forget.
Because they feel like it's childish.
Or unprofessional or immature, like dancing, like the dancing TikTok thing. I love that people think, they look at my social media and they're like, do you just travel and dance in front of like the wonders of the world and stuff? I love that people think that because psychologically, everything that I'm about now, which is movement, you've got to move. Studies say 10,000 steps a day. It doesn't mean working out. It doesn't mean you have to walk. It doesn't mean you have to ride a bike. It doesn't mean you have to dance, but you've got to move.
Yeah.
And so when you move and you track it, there's a positive effect. There's a lot of positive things, knee pain, back pain. And then working, I'm so much more focused. I mean, I have ADD so bad. I could go off on so many tangents, which is something that I have a coach and I work on constantly as a speaker to finish my sentences. Otherwise, people in the audience are like, you're entertaining, but what do we learn?
Yeah.
And that's where you have to put a framework around everything. And if you don't have a framework around your life and your time and your wellness and also planning ahead, I planned for a living, but I wasn't really doing it for myself. I wasn't planning out, what am I going to eat this week? I wasn't planning out, the things that we have to do to survive in everyday life.
Yeah.
So when you do it for yourself, it just changes everything. So now we're much more focused, taking it a step back on the whole walk and work. You can work and you can walk. I mean, I got a treadmill desk and I freaking love it. And it doesn't go fast. It like goes up to 2.0.
Well, really? So you're just
not
moving.
even fast.
You're at least just moving.
Just moving.
Right.
And the main thing is like when COVID hit, I'm like, oh my God, I have to be in my house and just work at a computer for 10, 15 hours on some of the things I'm doing. I started to get resentful.
Yeah, that's not you.
Towards the clients that I'm like sitting here having to go through these things.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to move, but I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't get a trainer. So the next best thing was like, okay, I'll just get like a pad. I had a stand-up desk like you do and just move.
Yeah.
And then
like right now you're making me want to raise my desk up. I feel like I got to do something.
I walked in and I'm like, okay. I'm like,
this will be a podcast first. I'm going to raise my desk. I'm going to stand and do this. Why not?
I saw a TikTok and I'm like, he's standing up doing a voiceover. I'm like, I wonder if he has a pad underneath that desk. And
I should, right?
It's just moving. And it like, I don't know, everybody that's been doing it, it like puts you in a better mood, but it helps with focus.
Right.
Because for those of us who have ADD or ADHD, you're doing something. And so like I have all my monitors set up and whatever is blocked on my calendar for that time.
Yeah.
And I also set timers. because I just kind of like lose myself sometimes because I'm having too much fun shopping for other people.
Yeah.
It's like you just have to have structure.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not productive.
I'm gonna bring it back down only because your camera's mounted on the desk and it's kind of weird. It's like you're at the bottom of the screen. So
next time
we'll have a different kind of camera setup. So COVID was kind of an eye opener for you as it was for a lot of people. I had no idea.
So I got COVID. It's funny because my whole team got it before I did, and I was actually still traveling on the front end of COVID before everything was really shut down.
Yeah.
And then in February, I got it, and I know exactly where I got it and who I got it from. And I mean, she didn't know she had it, but I was out for 18 days, 8 days out, 104 fever. I thought I was going to die for real. Like, I'm sarcastic. I'm funny. I'm not being funny about this. Like, I was so sick, and it's like an illness that you never felt. And it affected people differently. But the reason it hit me so bad and I had such a hard time recovering is because I was so unhealthy.
Yeah.
I was so unhealthy I was overweight from what I was eating, from my just everything, because I was so into the business and I was so invested in other people and
everything else fell by the wayside. Yeah.
Me,
yeah,
like everything. So once I, it took me a good 6 months. Like I didn't have smell and taste, and people were like, "Oh, well, that's why you lose weight." No, you have to eat to survive, but you have choices. And figuring out like what is really going to be my medicine, because oh my God, I was doing all the things and all the vitamins and the probiotics, but if you don't eat what your body needs, you're never going to feel the best you can actually feel.
Yeah.
So that's where, and I didn't even like start researching it to like find a way. It's like, everything happens for a reason. A client had another client that was like, "Oh, they need this. You can help them." And I'm like, it seems a little scamish.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, just show up on Zoom and see what you think of it." And then I told the guy, I was like, "I kind of want to try it and see like what happens." But I don't cook. And I'm not buying any of that stuff. And I don't even know what half of those things are on the list that you put out. And he's like, "Well, there's a lady that can do it. And, if you can afford that type of thing." And in my head, I'm like, people go to Starbucks twice a day sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm not a Starbucks person, but a lot of people are. And
they really are.
If you just shift your money or your finances into something that's actually going to serve you, and make you feel better. And it's a mindset and you have to adopt it. And so for 90 days, I'm like, I'm just going to be super effing strict with myself, not eat a lot of sugar and all of that. And like in 90 days, I mean, what everybody sees is like, "Oh my God, you lost so much weight." And I'm like, well, you didn't know me when I was a competitive gymnast. Like I know what I need to do. But for like 3 years there, my dad was sick. My dad died. I ended a 7-year relationship. My assistant of 6 years was addicted to painkillers and I had to let her go because she was making so many mistakes. Like all these bad things were happening to me. And I became the victim mentality, which is like death to me.
No.
And so I had to go through it. And then I had to get near death before I woke up and was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like get up. You know what you need to do and motivate yourself and get yourself back on track." So it did take, and sometimes for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's the near-death experiences that flash before our eyes, or we lose somebody that we love who we take for granted, and they're like, "Oh, they'll be there next Sunday at dinner. I'm going to bring my computer and my phone to every dinner. And if I could just go back, it's just, that's the pain that I'm talking about. You have to feel those moments before you're like, "Should I do something different?"
You hit on something that I constantly talk about. Man, it's funny, dare I say, a friend of mine, Mr. Bradley, who's been on the podcast, I talk a lot about him, and a lot of people probably think I'm really impressed, but I am, okay, fine, guilty. He's a great guy, very helpful, very, from what I could see, very loyal to people that, he keeps in his life. But he wrote a book called The Hard Way. And when the last time he was on here, we talked about learning things the hard way. He says, his whole book is based on, look at the things that I did wrong, and you don't have to learn the hard way because I did. And I said, some people just need to, I said, that's why we repeat history, and I brought this up before in the podcast where we repeat history because we don't know what those events felt like 80 years ago. You know, there are going to be kids that you can tell you're blue in the face. Don't touch the hot stove. Guess what? Some of them are. You know why?
Try it out.
Got to try it out. I want to get an idea of what your idea of hot is. You know, and you're absolutely right. You know, old people can tell you, look, the values in the time you spend with your loved ones. Trust me, I've seen it all. I'm 70 some odd, 80 some odd years old. It's in the loved ones. It's in your family. You don't know that until you go through something like that.
Or it's too late.
Right.
It is too late. And so one of my mentors, my onion mentor, I call him, he's like, when you're peeling back the layers, you really have to figure out, what do you want to keep?
Yeah.
And where do you want to go? And if you're saying yes to something, like, be present. Like, don't be and so going back to what I was saying earlier, looping, thanks Tony Robbins, is like freedom. Like what entrepreneurs want. We start our own businesses. Those of us,
our own boss.
Right.
Yeah.
For those of us who come from corporate America, and it's like, I know I just don't want that.
Yeah.
But we want freedom. We want to be able to make our own decisions. But unfortunately, we all start out by being slaves pretty much to our clients and allowing them to dictate everything until something happens and we're like, okay, we can't operate like this anymore, which is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I can't do that. No one in my industry does that. And no one, and he looked at me and said, I don't give a shit what everybody else does. You have to take care of you and your people. You and your sales provide food for everyone that works with you on their table.
Yeah.
And people need your services. You help solve a problem. You make it such a better experience if someone needs something.
Is it the confidence, like a scarcity mindset, that makes us like that? If I don't do this, I'm going to lose them. That kind of
100%.
mindset. Yeah.
A lot of it's driven by, I need the money. I need the money. I need the money. And listen, I get it. I mean, I started somewhere too. And I will say in the first few years, I wouldn't have the reputation that I had if I didn't say yes to everything.
Right.
You pay your dues, it's
but
like,
now you know.
Yeah, but you shouldn't operate like that forever.
No. But I mean, is it easier said than done in the beginning? Just some people just need to go through it, and they will.
They do.
Inevitably. There's so many coaches, business coaches out there that, you can't say no to everything. Guy, okay, then either you got a pile of cash you're living off of, because the main, concern of a business owner in the beginning is keeping that thing moving.
Yep.
All right. And not going out of business. And that takes cash.
Yeah.
Cash flow. Okay. Yeah. And that's, sometimes you just got to do everything you got to do until you don't, until you have leverage, which is the tough part. You got to, have that plan in mind. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people miscalculate the amount of time it takes to get there as well. I think it's about a 5-year run. Mm-hmm. Before you start really firing on all cylinders. It's about that, right? For you, was that what it was?
That's still what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But if every 10 years I get super bored,
right.
And I'm like, okay, I've made an impact where I can not only service other people, but it was filling my cup, right? It was making me happy. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, I've done that. Now what can I take over the last 10 years, what I've learned, and then listen to the audience? And my God, technology, things change so quick.
And people's attitudes change.
Yeah. And then how they see things and perceive things. And then, what's next?
Yeah.
And so
I have an answer for that.
Yeah. It's like, and some people like retirement.
Yeah.
I don't ever see myself retiring.
Neither do I.
I always want to have purpose. But a good question to ask yourself is, if you won the lottery tomorrow, or if money was not an object at all, what would you be doing?
Right.
How would you be living your life? And also I love my age. I'm like, people are like, you're in your 40s now. I'm like, I love my age. I would never go back.
Right.
Because I'm in such a different place now, especially having the opportunity to travel the world and see how other people live. What luxury means to people, and just the different words and the definitions. But like, I come home and I have dinner with my mom the other night, and my mom is so sentimental. And my dad passed away. And we're trying to get her to get rid of some of his things. And,
when did that happen?
It's been years.
Years? Okay.
We're talking like 5 years.
I thought it was recent.
Okay. Well, I talk like, it was yesterday, because that feeling of never goes away. It just,
I know.
And the
mine's
holidays
been gone,
are hard.
My dad's been gone 15 years, 16 years.
It's never easy.
You miss him. Yep.
Never easy. And so it's like, I told my mom, I'm like, I know that you're afraid. She's like, I'm going to die and y'all are going to just give all my stuff away or burn all my stuff. And I'm like, but Mom, I know that some of these things have significance to you and we can keep some of those things or take a picture and I'll make you a memory book in the cloud. But it's just stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end of your life, it's not about how much stuff you have and how much money you have. It's about what did you do with your time?
Right.
And what impact have you made on people? And one exercise that this group I'm in, the Entrepreneur Organization, had us do years ago, which was like the most morbid thing. But they're like, write your eulogy. What are people going to stand up and say? And do your goals align with what you want people to say?
Yeah.
And that's a great indication of, am I really living my life? Like if you were told you only have so many days to live, like what would you do? And the other day I was listening to a podcast and the guy was like, if you look at productivity across any board, business owners, employees, whatever you do, the week before vacation, people who actually take vacation, which I'm laughing because most entrepreneurs, it's like, can you leave your business for 30 days and come back and it still be going? If the answer is no, you just have another job,
right?
Which is another indication. But it's just like, oh my God, I completely lost my train of thought and like went on a complete tangent. But I'm like, your eulogy, do you, and oftentimes it didn't match what your eulogy was saying, and then what you're doing and what your goals are.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my sister, she's been sick for years. She has I don't even say my sister's sick anymore. She was told, you're probably not going to live much longer. I mean, ALS can kill you very quickly. Yeah. But there are things that are outside the U.S. that are unconventional, that are not FDA approved. We could try it on you. I mean, we're 7 years in, and she saw her kid go to college, her oldest kid. She saw her youngest kid graduate from kindergarten. Things that she saw her oldest daughter turn 16. She never thought she would see those things. Right. And so, again, it's perspective and what's going on in your life and what changes and positive changes can you make in your life so that when you are dead and gone, it's not about your stuff. And I'm like trying to teach my mom that right now. You're
going to leave a legacy no matter what. Right. It's going to be good, bad, or indifferent. The getting back to the question you asked before, which is, if you had all the money in the world or it wasn't an object, what would you do? Do people really know? I mean, when you ask that question, do they know right off the bat? Do they got to think about it?
No. Yeah. No, they're like, well, I don't know. I mean, I built this business and I have to do it because that's what I'm good at.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Right.
Yeah. So I would, if I were asked that question, because that is my objective, it's not, I don't really need to be, some of these guys are out there, you'd be like, billionaires, a new million. Guys, I think I can make ends meet on $10 million bucks. Very well. Okay. It's not that hard. I don't need much. I mean, if I were to, have that kind of a windfall, I would, probably buy a place on the coast, get into a cover band or two, and just have fun.
Rich.
Yeah, that's what I like doing. Play drums in some beach bar, and travel with my wife.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's real purpose. That gets me out of bed every morning. That's the why.
Yeah.
I would still do voiceover. I would still do podcast production. I would still probably, involve myself in a myriad of businesses.
It fills you up still.
Yeah. But also getting back to your point that you made about, getting and reinventing yourself every so often. The confidence level increases because confidence is the memory of success, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, and we progress through seasons of life. I talk differently than I used to on this podcast in general. It's evolved. It's developed. I'm a lot more ballsy, I guess I would say, or just myself, take it or leave it. And I think a lot of that, it is conveyed because it's backed by a voice of confidence that I haven't been once around the block. It's been many times around the block.
Right.
So there's evidence of, I've heard this before. I don't know if you mentioned Tony Robbins, and I don't know, about 2 months ago, he had one of the authors of a book called Generations on. It's Strauss and Howe, but I don't know which one it was. And they talked about how, we go through different seasons of generations, but they all repeat. They all cycle back, right? Everything's cyclical. We're going through something that's the tail end of what they call the fourth turning. In another book called Pendulum, they equate it as we're going through a we cycle. We're at the zenith right now. 2023, in this book, they say 2023 is going to be the same as 1943.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And all the stuff they call out in it is like happening. So right now, it's an attitude of I'm okay, you're not okay. And as the pendulum starts coming back down, we're going to get into a season of I'm okay, you're okay, much like it was in the 60s.
Okay.
There was a book called I'm okay, you're okay, right? And that kind of adopted that. There's a reason why it came out at that point, because we were in the upswing into a me, which crescendoed in zenith in the 80s, in 1983.
Okay.
Me is all about, plastic phoniness, hype. You had a lot of people, you had a lot of guru worship in the 80s. We is about social obligation, and we don't like it. Witch hunts, things of that nature. We're going through that right now.
Oh my God, I got to listen to this book.
Right? It's amazing. Pendulum. Look it up.
I got to get it.
But they talk about in the Tony Robbins podcast, the generations of life itself. Okay. 0 through 20 is like spring. 20 through 40 is like summer. Fall is 60 or 40 through 60, 60 through 80 being like winter. He said something that just knocked it out of the park. Ages 20 to 40 is some of the most unhappy years of people's lives. And I'm going,
so true.
Oh my gosh.
It's
right?
so true.
Right?
It's so true.
And it said 40 to 60 is some of the happiest.
And fulfilling.
It's fulfilling, but why? Confidence. We don't feel the pressure to conform or meet other people's expectations. We're finally... There was a pivotal event in my life at age 40 that I changed careers. I got out of radio. I started doing something, cars, but cars led to me being self-employed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you needed that step.
That's transition.
I almost bought a car from you too.
I know. I think you went with a Porsche.
I did. And then I bought the same one 5 years later because I loved it as I went.
It's a good car.
Creature of habit.
Yeah. But I mean, that's exactly what happened to me. And then I became self-fulfilled, if you will, in 2016. I was 41 years old. So.
And some people, they're like, but I'm 40. I'm too old, or like it's too late in life to do.
If you think so, then it will be.
Yeah, exactly. It all is mindset. And you can't always, I was raised one way and I wasn't taught that. I wasn't, but it's the development and joining the right groups and networking with the right people.
Yeah.
And it's fun because my little brother's, now his company is, I want to say 3.5 years old, but he had a great career for 10 years. It was very political. Yeah. And it was so painful for me to watch him dedicate his life to these cases, and then someone new come in and completely take it all away. And I'm like, when you own your own business, the only person that can take it away from you is you. And so he was like, okay, if you'll help me start my business. I mean, he's crushing, he's killing it.
Yeah.
But he tells people, he's like, my older sister, they all think he's older than me, and I love that. But he's like, well, she doesn't have kids, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's your perspective, and it's how you react. And thank goodness for some of the groups that I'm in that give me the tools. And you know what? If I don't have an answer to something, or I'm going through something, I have, more importantly, people to ask that aren't going to judge me.
Right.
And so that's where you find the right people who, most importantly, don't ask people for their advice if they haven't been through what you're going through.
Oh my gosh, so true. It must drive you nuts when you see other business gurus out there that are teaching people how to start a business and run a business. And they've got no battle scars, no business. It's like, here's the funnel. Here's the white paper you can download, the free course.
They're like, I'm a consultant. But I'm like,
it drives me nuts.
I'm like, you're a consultant, but you work for a company that does all the advertising, all the marketing, drives all the leads, takes care of all the business shit for you.
Yeah.
But you've never run your own business.
Or giving advice that what business do you have giving advice?
Right.
Vaynerchuk talks about that. He says he didn't make his first video till his mid-30s, until he felt like he had the audacity to get in front of a camera and talk about what he knows.
Not care.
Now he doesn't care because he knows.
I love it. That's why I love it.
Yeah, he's got the battle scars. There's so many people that are like, hey, I've been running a business for a year. I got this. Let me show you what I did. And, last month I was making, $3,000 a month, and this month I'm on track to make $60,000. let me show. Okay, if you're doing that well, why do you got to show me how to do it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It just drives me nuts. Side note, that was a total rabbit hole. Well, with that being said, let's.
What's your problem?
Yeah. So there we go. What problem are you having these days?
I would say today, personally, why do I keep getting sinus infections? Okay, I know why. I need to stop flying so much and probably sleep a little more. I actually put sleep on my calendar.
Really?
Because I'm in so many different time zones. I really try to at least rest, for 8 hours. But we are we're launching a whole new product, a whole new workshop. And we were even chatting about this earlier. I've been in hospitality for over 20 years, and I've been in this bubble of just serving people and their needs and what are their events and what is it going to look like and how is it going to feel. And, that's my industry, and that's what I'm really an expert in. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I have no certifications in wellness or health or any of that stuff. I have a lot of life experience, but we have a wellness program that is called Walk and Work. And my problem is I'm not aligned in the right spaces with the right people right now that can help me get the word out there.
Right.
So shifting my time and my focus into talking to people, you're like, be on more podcasts. And I'm like, yes, I need to be on more podcasts. But if you look at my calendar for the next quarter, it's just, me traveling and speaking, at these events, but be more intentional. So if podcasters are going to be at the conferences where I'm speaking at, ask them, hey, can we do a podcast? I have a podcast, we could do a podcast swap. And just taking it a step further and slowing down. So it's right now, my problem is just getting into the right circle of, some of the bigger conferences. I speak at a lot of conferences that are hospitality based, but what we're doing and the program that we are sharing, it can help any company. It can help any business. It's just about movement, walking and working, and really getting down to seeing people as people. How are they going to communicate? How are they going to understand capacity, which frees up a little bit of time for themselves so they can actually take care of themselves. Again, the outcome is always more productive. The outcome is GSD, but we've reversed it where it's let's make it fun. And movement gets things going, like in Legally Blonde, Elle Wood. She's like, endorphins, da-da-da. It's I
Makes
can
sense.
play that card really well, but it's true, and I'm living proof. I mean, I've gone through ups and downs. I've broken bones through gymnastic. I've gained a lot of weight, and then I've lost it all. This is my third time going through this. I mean, it's not good for your body. And I hope and I pray nothing ever happens again where I break something and I gain 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And then it's oh my gosh. But what I realized, you have to take the first step.
Yeah.
So, my problem is just getting intentional about what groups am I going to say yes to and go speak to make sure that the right workshops come out of it so that I can help business owners and help some of these brands who are great brands, and they're servicing a lot of people and they're making a lot of money, but they're spending so much money on turnover and training. And if they would just focus on the people they have and develop them, teach them how to be more productive, make sure they're happy, have open, healthy conversations about what do we hate and how can we change, and cultivating that company culture. So that is really, really, really what I'm focused on. And then just outbound sales. I've never really had to go. I'm not a sales girl, but I'm the biggest salesman when I believe in something.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't go away. I'm like, oh my God, this could change your life. It did for me. It can for you. But I've never had an outbound sales team because I haven't needed it.
Right.
I mean, people need an event. They're getting married. They have a wedding. They need calendar blocking. I'm used to people just coming to us.
Your reputation drove that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now I'm not in the wellness space. Yes, I was in healthcare for 10 years. Yes, my degree's in psychology, which is really the foundation to making sure you set your mindset up correctly that has that positive outcome on productivity.
So was it basically the change of just making sure you get your 10,000 steps?
That was the
and
first
then
thing.
dialing what your nutrition and stuff like that.
The first thing was movement.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing. And that's what I focused on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, including me, would think, well, I love food. I mean, my God, I'm in so many tastings.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, I'm part of a software company that sells drink machines and software that talks to drink machines for hotels and resorts. And so it's like, I go and taste a lot of things. So I have rules. I hate rules. I'm an entrepreneur, right? But if we don't have personal rules, we cannot get where we're going.
No.
So if I drink an alcoholic beverage, or if I eat a cookie or a piece of cake or whatever, that's another 1,000 steps. So if I have 3 drinks, which is like my threshold for the night, I'm going to dance 3,000 steps before I leave.
Right.
And that is my calendar alarm telling me to wrap up.
Okay. Well, that's really, we can do that if you like. Unless you want to keep talking, it's up to you.
I have all these alarms set.
Do you have even like an affiliate deal with the people who make the treadmill
treadmills.
desks?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
It's an obvious link because you believe in it, you use it. I want to see more TikToks with you using it. You know?
I do. I
and
have
dancing on it and
Yep.
you know, doing some OK Go style videos and all that fun stuff.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be that brand. And
Right.
you don't have to buy a treadmill desk from me. It's not even.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Well, it's
You
like.
need to go there, right? What's the link?
So, well, if
Can I get an affiliate link?
go, yes, ask Amanda. She will hook you up 100%. So it's the treadmill that I started with, and they have different treadmills. You can get the pad, or if you have a manual stand-up desk, or you can get the one that moves up and down, or they have different versions of it. And if you go to my Instagram or my TikTok, like my link in bio has the link right there that says treadmill desk, and you can click there, and that's the affiliate link that will drive you to show you that. But more importantly, even before the treadmill desk is get the right information.
Yeah.
Get the right information. We have an acronym called PATTERN because people don't like habits. That has a negative connotation. It really does. We did a lot of A/B split testing around it. And so the good part is that when you have the right information, one tool and the first component for me that really made a difference was that treadmill desk. So it's like once you have the pattern down, you have the information. So sign up for the workshop. Then get a treadmill desk. And if you work for a company, or you work in a hotel, or you work in a big company and you guys already have stand-up desk, my gosh, like get the pads to go underneath. They are very inexpensive.
What are the pads?
They're the walking pads.
Okay.
So like I call them pads. Like they're walking pads where you can walk underneath your stand-up desk, and then you can take it a step further and have a little friendly competition, like with your team at work. And whoever walks the most steps that month or within 90 days, they win a trip, or they win a car, or they win something that is important to them.
Right.
And that's what you have to figure out, is what's important to people. These companies that say, oh, we have incentive programs and we have wellness and we have this and we have that. And then I keep asking more questions, and I'm like, but no one's participating.
Yeah.
So don't you think that's a problem? Like, oh, we have trainers.
Right.
Oh, we have a wellness program. Really? Well, everybody doesn't, do they not know about it?
Yeah.
So it's like you really have to look at, are people happy inside their job and what they're doing every day?
That's
And so you can go to Walk and Work. It's walkandwork.co. Not .com, because somebody owns it. It's not even built out. That's the most frustrating thing. I'm like, I'm not paying a third party to like have that URL. So walkandwork.co. And it's also on my website, angelaproffitt.com.
.co works. I mean, we got it's your show.co. It rhymes.
Yep. Oh, that's cool. It's your show.co.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember.
Hopefully people can remember that.
Yeah.
So I want to wind it down. I know your life is uber scheduled. So,
It is.
and I'm envious of that. Where do people find and follow you? Everything angelaproffitt.com.
Everything angelaproffitt.com. And my favorite is
2 F's and 2 T's in profit.
That's right.
So
That's right.
with really, really awesome pictures of you.
Now I say T instead of Tom. I say T is in TikTok because I do love TikTok.
You really do. I mean, and it's very entertaining to watch the stuff that you do on TikTok. I'm looking at it here. You get a little over 8,000 followers, and it's steadily growing.
Yeah.
And you're like in front of the pyramids. You're out in Greece. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff.
All over
You're
the
in
place.
a dark desert highway with cool wind in your hair. It looks like, I don't know where this is. That's is that Egypt too?
That's in Egypt. That was on the way to the Red Sea, which y'all I thought was red. Haha. I'm not very good at geography. And we get there and I'm like, where's the Red Sea? And they're like, this is the Red Sea. I'm like, but it's beautiful. And it's like all shades of blues and greens. And I think you pronounce it Hurghada is how you say it. My tongue doesn't do a lot of these other languages. And so people just laugh and make fun of me. I just laugh it off. But I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's like, I'm a Southern girl from the U.S. Like, I don't talk like that.
But you're sharp, you're quick-witted, you're extremely intelligent. You've done a lot of amazing things in your life. And man, it's just, we got to keep bringing this back and having you on, recurring guests, because you bring so much to the table.
Thank you.
You always teach me a lot. So, and it's like, I just got to get 10,000 steps a day.
Just got to move. And it doesn't mean walking.
Right.
You can do it. You can cycle. You just have to move.
Yeah.
And so people say to me, so do you dance and lose weight? I'm like, yes. And I have a trainer when I'm at home and he dances with me.
Right.
So it's like, find people that what you love to do.
Immerse yourself in it.
And I was a little worried for business. I'm like, oh God, people think it's so unprofessional. And yes, I use a lot of lyrics that cuss a lot, but I grew up around that,
Yeah.
But it's so much happier to be who you are and what you love, and the right clients come.
Yeah.
They do.
It's funny, you ever watch Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James?
No.
It's about where he gets into I think it's actually loosely based on a true story about a teacher that's trying to raise funds for the school music program, and he's actually saving his friend's job. So he gets into MMA fighting.
Okay.
And he
Mixed
actually,
martial arts.
yeah, and he gets into UFC and wins the bout and everything. And
That's amazing.
so I'm like, we watched it for a second time, and I turned to my wife and I go, I really need to get back into MMA fighting. She goes, when were you ever in it? I'm like, I took Krav Maga classes. I mean,
But there's an MMA. So one of my clients who opened a venue, who's an investor, he made his money and got known in MMA. So he has these gyms and these karate, and he has a whole line of clothing, and now he has a food company that like delivers it. But I went to an MMA gym and would box with them. No air condition, and I love air condition. Like, oh my God, it's a whole different. We could do a whole thing on air condition around the world and what you need to ask for as an American. We won't go there, but it's like. You don't have the mentality of like, I'm too old, I'm out of shape. It's like, just take the first step and go in there and just do it for 10 minutes, which will then build to 20 minutes. Then it'll build to 30 minutes. But if you know you love that and you can like release, not anger. I don't think I was ever in there punching things at anger. Maybe I was.
frustration.
Feels good, but do shit you like to do and don't worry about what everybody else thinks about it.
Yeah.
If it's making you happy and you're moving and track it. Like I did get an Apple Watch. I love Apple. I didn't have a watch for a long time because of the distractions, but the notifications, I control all that.
Right.
So I shut them all off. My watch, it gives me text from certain people and it tracks my steps like on my little home screen.
Yeah.
And that's all I care about.
I haven't figured out the rings, I got to do that. Is it really stressing you out right now that you're beyond your threshold of what you scheduled?
Oh, I'm not stressed out, but it's on snooze.
Oh, okay.
And then
this is totally worth breaking the schedule, breaking the rules.
It is.
Rules are made to be broken.
But this is where you rely on other people in your life to like keep you on track. Y'all, I love to talk, right?
Yeah.
And I love to share, and sometimes I overshare. I've been told.
You have a lot to share. You got a ton of experience in things that you've done.
I just want people to know that like there is a better way sometimes.
There always is.
Like, don't turn to suicide. Don't turn to drugs. Don't turn to the wrong people. There's the right people that can help you. And don't be embarrassed. Shit's hard. Start
with your, even if you have kids or even with yourself. If you wake up every day and it's like, oh, why do I got to do this again? Okay, realize that, yes, you got to make a change, but at least find a joy to cling to.
One thing.
One. Yeah. It's just a little mental exercise. Believe you me, I tell my kids this all the time. I said, believe you me, I was the biggest negative thinker for years. It didn't happen until I got into the car business and it opened my world as far as the possibilities of the things that I can do and what I've all of a sudden learned. And then realizing you're only in control of the 360-degree sphere around you.
That's
and once you realize that, it's almost like liberating, Yep. Once you realize you have no control, it's okay. Yep. And then you just say, okay, I have the control to pick the one thing that gives me joy. I tell this story a lot on the podcast. My son, first day of school recently, real quick, passing his middle school right over here. And he just kind of pointed out all the things he hated about the middle school and how I'm like, buddy, I completely understand it. Oh my gosh, the anxiety level's going off the charts here. So, and I said, I want you to pick out one thing. Today's the first day of school. You're going to a new school. That's a good thing. What's one positive thing we could say right now?
Gratitude.
And he goes, my sister's going to meet me and show me around. I said, there you go. Beautiful. And as your dad, I'm going to freaking bawl like a baby because that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
His big sister is going to show him around and show him that it's okay to be in a new school with his new experience. Amazing.
Gratitude.
And it's like, just do it at once every day. And once becomes twice, and twice becomes 4 times, and so on and so forth.
That's the P in pattern is positivity. And we do every night when I go to bed, I'm like, what's the highest thing and the lowest thing? And whatever the low thing was, how can I fix it? Or how can I plan better so that it's not a low again? And usually it is around planning.
And don't beat yourself up if you still have negative thoughts. You're going to have them.
Yeah.
It's okay to have them, but do the positive thoughts outweigh the negative?
Right.
Okay. If it's flip-flopped,
we got to do a TikTok.
We'll do a TikTok.
We got to do it
right now.
Right now.
We're going to do it while we're doing the podcast. I should probably do a.
We got to get up and we got to do my little signature dance in here.
I got to learn that dance.
It's so easy. I teach so many people. We got to stand up and do it.
So we're going to be doing a TikTok dance. I'm actually going on Instagram right now. Angela
Which
Proffitt
is the
in the
same
room.
thing as Reels.
Yeah. Pretty much is.
Same thing as Instagram. We wash, rinse, repeat.
If you guys, I'm going to say for my TikTok, my Instagram audience, if you haven't had Angela Proffitt on your podcast, you got to have her.
I love it.
She's amazing.
I love it. We got to do my signature dance on TikTok.
On TikTok.
And then I got to get on the Zoom call.
I'm going to make a fool out of myself, but that's okay.
This is my favorite little song right now. And then in January, we'll pick a new signature dance and go around the world with that too.
So do you want, we can wrap the podcast up.
Yeah, let's wrap it and stand up and move.
There we go. Okay, so check us out, whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Make sure you check out angelaproffitt.com and follow along. It's 2 F's and 2 T's in Profit. angelaproffitt.com. Link will be in the description. And thank you again for joining us today. Let me know what we'll be doing better. Give us a 5-star review. Sharing is caring. And thank you, Angela, once again for coming all the way out here.
Thank you so
Alabama
much for having me.
and being with us.
All good. Have a GSD day.